الحمد لله الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ربنا زدنا علما اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا اللهم زدنا إيمانا ويقينا وفقها اللهم إنا نسألك حجا مبرورا. How to do Hajj. So this is going to be a practical step-by-step guide, and we'll start with the preparation. Now some of these slides, if you attended the Umrah seminar, then this will be a bit of a recap over some of the topics that were covered then. So the first thing is the preparation. So we want to prepare for the Hajj, and this preparation is a religious duty or an obligation upon all of us. Just like before we can pray, we learn how to pray, we learn how to do wudu. Likewise, before we fast, we need to learn how we fast. Likewise, we need to take the Hajj seriously, and we need to learn about Hajj. And one of the ways of learning about Hajj is this seminar. But sometimes the seminar is not enough, because the Hajj rites, as some of the scholars they said, it's one of the most difficult sub-chapters when it comes to the section of ibadat. And it can be confusing until you've done Hajj more than once to really grasp all of the rites of Hajj and understand where you are and what you're doing. So I would recommend that even after this seminar, that we go back and recap, either watch the video or you could read. So if you like reading, there is a book I would like to recommend that you purchase. It's a book well worth reading from cover to cover. And when I first did Hajj, it was one of the main resources that I had, and I did read it cover to cover, and I found it very, very useful. And that book is the book Getting the Best Out of Hajj by Abu Munir Ismail Davids. Getting the Best Out of Hajj by Abu Munir Ismail Davids. It's one of the most comprehensive books written in the English language that you can get, and there's a number of practical tips in there by a very experienced Hajj guide. Other than learning about Hajj, we also want to learn how to pray the Janazah Salah, because some of us may not have access to praying the Janazah Salah regularly, and we may have forgotten how to pray the Janazah Salah. But when you go to Mecca and you go to Medina, the sheer number of people in those masajid, you are going to come across people passing away, and the Janazah Salah is an often ibadah that you will have the opportunity to pray. So it's worth reading up on the rulings of the Janazah Salah and how to pray the Janazah Salah. And there is a guide, I'm not sure if there is a guide on the Hunafa portal covering this, but there is a guide that can be given to you, or we can cover this maybe at a later date. The other area we want to focus our education on in preparation for this trip is traveling etiquette, i.e., when do we shorten our salah and when do we combine? Should we be praying in the masjid? So there are some basics that are worth learning. And in summary, you're going to be travelers. So when you pray by yourself, you're going to be praying 2 rakah. But that does not exempt you, or it does not mean that you leave praying in the masjid. You should still try your best to pray in the masjid when you're there. And if you're praying behind a local imam and they complete the salah, then you'll also complete the salah as well. But again, if you have any questions regarding this on your trip, you can always ask one of the guides and they can help you with your questions, inshallah. There also needs to be a spiritual preparation, and the spiritual preparation is actually the most important preparation. Allah Azza wa Jal in Surah Al-Baqarah, and I forgot to mention this is part of the spiritual preparation. I recommend that you look at the ayat of Hajj. Allah Azza wa Jal talks about the rulings of Hajj in 2 main places in the Quran. One is Surah Al-Baqarah, and the other is in Surah Al-Hajj, the first half of Surah Al-Hajj. And in the middle of Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah Azza wa Jal talks about Hajj And there is a spiritual side to Hajj as well as the physical and the how to do side that's covered in those two places. And in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَتَزَوَّدُوا, and take your provisions for Hajj. And Allah Azza wa Jal then says, فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الزَّادِ التَّقْوَى, that the best provision that you can take is taqwa. I.e., the best thing that you can take with you on this journey of Hajj, it isn't how much money you're going to take. It isn't any fancy kit that you're going to buy from a camping shop, or a fancy neck pillow, or a rucksack, or anything like that. The best kit that you're going to take with you on this journey is a taqwa. Is a taqwa. So we want to attain this, and this is one of the aims or fruits as well that come out of Hajj. And the higher the level of taqwa, the more divine aid and support you will get in everything else. So if you get the spiritual preparation right, everything else will fall into place. Allah Azza wa Jal will facilitate everything else for you. So part of that spiritual preparation is a taqwa. So what does a taqwa mean? A taqwa means that from now, we remove this false belief that some people have, is that I'm going to be a better person after Hajj. No, your Hajj journey has already started. So you want to be a better person from now. You're not going to wait till after Hajj. So you're going to do your best to fulfill all of the obligations, and you're going to start with them in order of priority, starting with the Salah, the 5 pillars. You're going to start with the Salah, and if you have missed fasts, you're going to make them up. If you have missed zakat payments, you're going to pay them. You're going to show Allah Azza wa Jal that you are trying your best to turn a new leaf and make a fresh start. And you will see that when you do this, Allah Azza wa Jal will facilitate things for you and make things easy for you. Also, staying away from the haram. Maybe you're involved in something which is prohibited. You're going to do your best to free yourself from that, and you can ask Allah Azza wa Jal to help you in that struggle. So this is the spiritual preparation of taqwa. There's also another spiritual preparation, which is of sincerity. So we want to ask ourselves, why are we doing this Hajj? So people may have a number of reasons for doing Hajj. One of the reasons maybe is because they want to be known, or they want to talk about their Hajj journey, or they want to have achieved something where they are competing with their contemporaries, maybe family members, or it could be members in the masjid, or it could be their circle. Everyone's done Hajj except them. So they also want to come up to their level. These are not praiseworthy intentions, and they're actually dangerous intentions. And it could mean that everything comes to nothing in the end. So you want to make your intention sincere. So you're doing Hajj because it is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Allah Azza wa Jal has legislated this, and He hasn't legislated this just for this ummah. Allah Azza wa Jal has prescribed a pilgrimage for every nation before us. وَلِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ جَعَلْنَا مَنْسَكًا. Allah Azza wa Jal mentions Surah Al-Hajj. Allah Azza wa Jal has made a pilgrimage on every religious nation before us. So Allah Azza wa Jal has, number one, so Allah Azza wa Jal has legislated this for us. Therefore, Allah Azza wa Jal loves this act of worship. And that's what Hajj actually means. Hajj actually linguistically means to set out on a path intending someone whom you venerate and you glorify. So this is why you're taking this journey, to glorify Allah Azza wa Jal and to venerate Him and to draw closer to Him and to do what He loves. These are some of the high intentions that you can have. Also, your intention may be because you want to attain Jannah, because the Prophet ﷺ said that the accepted Hajj has no reward except Jannah. And once one of the companions extended his hand to accept Islam, and he wanted to give his oath of allegiance to the Prophet ﷺ, and then he withheld his hand back. And he said to the Prophet ﷺ, O Messenger of Allah, before I accept Islam, I want to make a condition, and that is, if I accept Islam, I want all of my sins to be forgiven. And so the Prophet ﷺ said to him, O Amr, Amr ibn al-As, Don't you know that Islam wipes out everything before it, and Hajj wipes out everything before it, and Hijrah wipes out everything before it? So Hajj, in terms of what it will wipe out, is equated to accepting Islam and doing the Hijrah. And if you think about those two deeds, Islam and Hijrah, you're giving up everything for accepting Islam. You're putting everything on the line. Likewise, when you do Hijrah as well, you're putting everything on the line. Your relationships, your money, everything that you have, you put it on the line, and you get the reward of your sins being wiped out. And Hajj is the same. Hajj is the same. So this could be a noble intention to have in mind. And you have to remember when you go on this journey that you might have worldly intentions, i.e., you have worldly needs that need to be fulfilled, and you're hoping on this journey you can make dua for those needs. There's nothing wrong for that. But your biggest goal from this journey should be the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal and the Jannah. And the Jannah. Because if the Jannah, which is your final destination, is solved, and Allah Azza wa Jal grants you that Jannah, then you don't have to worry about anything in between. So what happens between now and Jannah, you don't have to worry about, because the end will be the Jannah. And because the end is to Allah Azza wa Jal, and the end is either to the Jannah or to the hellfire. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us the Jannah and make us from the people of the Jannah. So your main dua should be the Jannah. And what happens in between in terms of health, in terms of your financial status, and the difficulties you go through won't matter when you enter Jannah. So these are important points we want to set out from the beginning. Now, we also want to take this opportunity of Hajj to return rights. We want to ask forgiveness from others. And Hajj is a really good opportunity for you to make amends and try and build bridges that have previously been broken between you and other family members and friends. And it's a very easy way. All you do is you approach the person. You can even write a message, a very nice message, that I plan to go to Hajj, and I ask your forgiveness if I have wronged you in any way. And you can word it like that. You don't have to tell the person whom you have wronged and they don't know. So you don't have to say that I have backbitten you, or I have said something bad behind you, behind your back. You don't have to mention or open up wounds like this, past wounds like this. You can leave it general and ask for their forgiveness and ask for them to make dua for you. There's nothing wrong with this, and this is a good way to make amends to previous wrongs that maybe that you have left and you have not found an opportunity to correct. So I advise you to do this. Also, I advise you to pay back any loans. And if you don't pay back any loans, then you have put in place methods where loans can be paid back. And for this, you do need to write a will. So writing a will becomes compulsory if you have rights due to you, or you owe others rights. So if you have debts that you owe others, you want to write down a will before you leave, because people have died on this journey. And as you will see when you go to Mecca and Medina, you will often see janazah prayers prayed after every salah, and it's often for multiple individuals. So you want to write a will, because you don't know what will happen in this journey. And this is part of your process to show Allah Azza wa Jal that you're changing. Show Allah Azza wa Jal that you're making a new turn in your life. So you want to write a will if you're owed money, also if you owe other people money as well. And then you want to repent to Allah Azza wa Jal, because one thing that will hinder you and your success is your sins. So if you want Allah Azza wa Jal to help you in this journey and to help you to be successful and do a Hajj which is accepted, then you want to do istighfar from your sins and repent to Allah Azza wa Jal. And we want you to choose a good companion to travel with. So the Prophet ﷺ said that the sons of Adam, human beings, we are like, our souls are like junudun mujannada. We're like birds of a feather. And there are some people that we're going to get on with in this life, and there are other people that we're not going to get on with in this life. This is, our personalities are like this, and Allah Azza wa Jal has created us like this for a wisdom, because we're completely different from one another. So if you find on this journey that you don't like the companionship of someone, maybe they're harming you, then you don't try and avoid that person and stick with people that remind you of Allah Azza wa Jal and that benefit you on this journey. Um, Likewise, we want you to focus on, as we mentioned, why you are undertaking this journey, and you have to remember that this is not a holiday and that you are going to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. So there are going to be difficulties that you're going to counter along the way. For a deed, for the reward of a deed to be Jannah, and for a reward of a deed to be the same as accepting Islam and doing Hijrah, don't think that that reward will come with ease. Let's go on to the next slide. So the next slide are the three methods of Hajj. There are three types of Hajj you can do. Al-Ifrad is where you do Hajj only. So a person goes from his hometown, he enters the state of Ihram, and he will say Labbaik Allahumma Hajjah, and he will only do Hajj, and he only gets the reward of the Hajj. The second is At-Tamattu, and this is one of the most common forms of Hajj. And it's often recommended because this is what the Prophet ﷺ strongly recommended the companions that they do. And that is when you go to Mecca in the state of Ihram, you will do an Umrah and you will do a complete Umrah from start to finish, entering the state of Ihram, doing Tawaf, Sa'i, and then cutting your hair, and then you come out of the state of Ihram. And then on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, you enter a new state of Ihram for Hajj. And then you do all the rites of Hajj and you come out of Ihram. So you do Hajj and Umrah with individual states of Ihram, and this is called At-Tamattu. And the third is Al-Qiran, and this is a Hajj and an Umrah with one Ihram. So you go to Mecca and you enter the state of Ihram once, you do the rites of Umrah, but you don't come out of Ihram, you don't shave your head after your Sa'i, and you stay in that state until the end of the rites of Hajj. So the Qiran is specific and it does have some benefit, and especially for women that may fall into Hayd on their trip to Mecca just before they would have done Umrah. So Qiran, if a sister falls into Hayd and she needs to do Qiran, or so she falls into Hayd before the 6th, so after the 4th, for those of you that are going with the group, then you can switch your niyyah into a Qiran, and then you can ask one of the guides, and they will find out the ruling for you or specific advice specific to your case. But in general, we plan to cover a tamattu in these slides, for the reason being that it was emphasized by the Prophet ﷺ, and it is generally the most common form of Hajj that I've come across people doing when they go to Hajj. Now, entering the state of Ihram, there's a difference between wearing Ihram and being in Ihram. So you can put on your Ihram and not be in the state of Ihram. And the reason why we mention this, because you're going straight to Mecca from London, a good trick, so you have less to carry in your rucksack and hand luggage, is to put on your Ihram from your home. So you put on your Ihram from your home and you enter the state of Ihram before you land in Jeddah. And it's about half an hour before you land in Jeddah. And if you're flying with an airline like Saudi or some of the other Muslim country airlines, they often announce that you're approaching the miqat and you should enter the state of Ihram. So you can enter the state of Ihram by saying Labbaik Allahumma Umrah on the plane. And this way you don't have to worry about changing your Ihram in the plane. And it's not easy to change the Ihram on the plane, especially because the toilets are very narrow and they may not be clean. There might be najasa on the floor. And also you would expect the rest of the people on the plane are also going to be queuing up and in a rush to get into the toilet and also enter the state of Ihram. So what's highly recommended is that you wear your Ihram. And a good method I've found in the past for men is for them to wear the lower garment. So you wear your lower garment of ihram, and then I used to wear my thobe on top. At least that way I could make use of my pockets at Heathrow and on the way to Heathrow. And then on the plane, all I have to do is take off my top thobe, my top layer, and I just have to throw on my rida, my upper layer of the ihram. Now the ihram of men are two white cloths, two white pieces of cloth, and I recommend getting a good quality cotton, a towel-like material, rather than the cotton sheet-like. And there's probably a number of places where you can buy them. If not, then you can ask. If you're struggling, then you can ask one of the guides, and they can give you some advice on where you can buy an ihram, a good quality one. In terms of men, sandals. So we're going to remove tailored clothing. We're going to remove tailored clothing, and tailored clothing here is anything which is tailored to fit your limbs. So anything that has sleeves or like something like trousers, which is fitted around the shape of the legs, has to be removed. And also you're going to remove shoes, and you want to wear sandals, or you could wear flip-flops. And out of the picture on the top right of your screen, the only sandal that I would say avoid are the Crocs, because the Crocs are almost like a hybrid between a shoe and a sandal. So personally, I don't recommend that you wear something like Crocs, although you might find scholars saying, look, it's not a shoe because the heel part is not covered. My problem is that the toes are covered and protected. So I'm not sure, and I would avoid wearing those. Otherwise, you can wear any of the other three. The preferable sandal is on the top left. Why? The one with the straps, because they're less likely for people to step on at the back and then rip. They tend to get ripped. So the sandal on the top right, those flip-flop type of sandals, often what happens if in congestion, when in busy periods, someone can step on the sandal as you lift your foot up, and then the top strap comes away, and then you're stuck without a sandal. So you want to buy good quality flip-flops if you're going to go with a flip-flop on the top right or the lower left. But otherwise, stick with a sandal like you have on the top left, the one that has the double strap and the heel strap. They tend to fit well. Now, it's sunnah to shower, trim your nails, remove pubic hair, and perfume the body if there is a need to do any of those, because in the state of ihram, you're going to avoid trimming your nails and removing any hair, and also wearing perfume. And the ihram for women is two white cloths. The way ihram for men is to wear two white cloths, and the ihram for women is that they will remove the niqab and gloves. Now the mawaqit. There are certain points that the Prophet ﷺ laid down for us that we should not go past except we're in the state of ihram. Except we're in the state of ihram. And for Medina, if you're coming from Medina, it's Dhul Hulayfa. As for us, if we're coming towards Jeddah, we're often coming from that angle of the west. So our ihram will be between Juhfa and Yalamlam, and if you draw a line around the boundary, it tends to be just outside Jeddah. So just before Jeddah, if you're coming from a direct flight, obviously if you're coming from a indirect flight from UAE or Qatar, then your miqat will be on the opposite side. But before you go past this miqat, you want to enter the state of ihram. If you're the type of person who likes to sleep while flying, I recommend you get into your full state of ihram, and you can even enter the state of ihram as you take off. So you would say labbaik Allahumma umrah, and then you can sleep your whole way through until you've landed in Jeddah airport. Likewise, on your journey, if you feel like that you might fall asleep or you're feeling sleepy, then there's nothing wrong with going to sleep. You can enter the state of ihram, and you can tell the person next to you that they don't need to wake you up just before the miqat. So any time before you go past this boundary, you want to be in the state of ihram, both for men and women. And what is the state of ihram? You enter the state of ihram by saying labbaik Allahumma umrah. Just like the first takbir of the salah is called takbiratul tahrim. It comes from the same root letters from harama, because you're entering a sacred state of ibadah. When you say Allahu Akbar and you leave that sacred state of ibadah, when you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, likewise you enter the sacred state of ihram by saying either the talbiyah or by saying labbaik Allahumma umrah. Now, once you're in the state of ihram, you're going to avoid these prohibitions, and they are wearing clothes, anything which is tailored. So it's like a jacket, and it has to be the jacket that you're putting it on with your hands in its sleeves, or trousers. There's nothing wrong with wearing a belt. So there were some of the companions, they would use a cloth that they would tie around their waist. Abdullah ibn Umar was seen to wrap a cloth around his waist, around his izar, because a cloth is not tailored. It's not like trousers or a shirt or a jacket. Likewise, covering the head. Okay, covering the head is one of the prohibitions, and this is specific for men. The first two are both specific for men, because women will wear tailored clothing. The only thing that they won't wear is the niqab and gloves. Also, removing any hair and trimming nails. When it comes to removing hair and trimming nails and wearing perfume, I want you to remember this point, that for these three, and even covering the head as well is included, and even the first. So for the first five, because they are the ones that you're most likely to fall into. For you to fall into a prohibition and for you to be concerned, then you have to do it knowingly, remembering that you're in the state of ihram. So if by accident you use something perfumed like a hand wash in the aeroplane or in a public toilet, and you used perfumed hand wash and you did not realize it until afterwards, then this is overlooked. It's only if you put something on knowingly and remembering that you're in the state of ihram. Likewise, you fell asleep in the plane, and when you woke up, you had realized that part of your rida, your upper garment, was covering your head again, then this would be overlooked. Likewise, removing hair, you stroked your beard or you scratched your hair and some hair came out. And in this case, again, this was not done by intention, so this would be overlooked. And Aisha radiallahu anha was asked about scratching your head in the state of ihram, and she said, yes, you can scratch, and you can even do it strongly. You can scratch strongly. There's nothing wrong with it. And she said that if my hands were tied, I would actually scratch with my feet, meaning that there's absolutely nothing wrong with scratching your head. Also, hunting is not allowed. And alhamdulillah, is something that we don't really do. But any wild animals you would not hunt in the state of ihram. Now, something specific to Mecca is that Mecca is a sacred sanctuary, and we don't scare off animals, like even birds. Birds, pigeons should not be ushered away or scared off. Like, so kids like chasing birds and pigeons, they should be stopped from doing it, because Mecca, everything should be safe. And this is the same whether you're in the state of ihram or not in ihram. This is specific for Mecca. Also, proposing or accepting proposals. And attached to this is actually doing the nikah. Proposing, accepting proposals, and doing a nikah is also something which is one of the prohibitions. And the major prohibition is engaging in sexual activity, and this is full-on sexual activity, actually nullifies your Hajj. So out of this list, the only thing that will nullify your Hajj outright and will mean that you have to come back the following year to do it again is if somebody engaged in full-on sexual activity.
That are we okay to take a few questions?
Yes, this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's good time to take some questions.
Okay, there was a first question which I've said no, but I think there might be more detail to this. Is Brother Muaz, he asked, I'm going to stay in Jeddah for 2 days. Can I wear ihram in Jeddah and then go to Mecca for Umrah? So I think the brother might be going to Jeddah to drop off family or drop off his children, and then he's going to make his way to Azizia and then join us there. Would that be correct, Brother Muaz? If you can unmute and ask your questions, if I haven't captured what you've meant to say. Okay.
Oh, yes, correct. Okay. So in this case, no, you should wear your ihram from before Jeddah, because Jeddah is within the miqat, and your intention to go to Hajj is from before. And therefore that's where your ihram should be from. I've managed to find out how to get these questions up anyway, so I can see
you
some
have,
of
yeah.
them.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
So Crocs, I remember, as I mentioned, yeah, Crocs, avoid Crocs. Can men sandals have? Yes, so you can have stitching, and likewise belts have stitching. What you can't wear is tailored clothing. So something which is tailored in the form of like your limbs, like a something sewed in the form of my body, or where my limbs come out. This is what's not allowed. But otherwise, for belts, for sandals, that's stitching. The translation is not a correct translation to say stitched clothing is not allowed, because even ihram can have stitching on it. So if you are doing Hajj Tamattu after Umrah is done, do you need to? Okay, no, you don't. We're going to come to that, inshallah. So you don't need to perform Tawaf Qudum if you're doing Tamattu. If you're doing Tamattu. Can women wear face masks? An excellent question. Yes, they can. It's best for them not to. It's best for them not to. And actually, in that case, it's probably best for them to give a fidya, which we'll mention, because a face mask is very similar to like a niqab. What's a niqab? A niqab is a separate garment that you tie around your head. And a face mask is very similar to that. I know you get the looping ones, but traditionally a face mask was the one that you would tie behind the back. So I would avoid it. And if a sister needed to wear it, for example, she was recommended by a medical professional for her personal health to wear a face mask in crowded areas, it's probably best for her to give a fidya, and that fidya would mean feeding 6 people half a sa', feeding 6 people half a sa', or fasting, or she can give a sacrifice. But if somebody has a specific question, for specific questions, we'll probably address them separately. Can women brush their hair? Yes, they can brush their hair. Can men wear the waist bag? Yes, they can. Okay, can a man wear an umbrella hat on his head? No, he should avoid that. That's covering. It's a bit like covering the head. So I would avoid wearing an umbrella hat, unless if it's a band that goes around the side of the head, and off that band the umbrella comes up. But to be fair, those things, I think they probably trap more heat than if anything. So I wouldn't really recommend those.
Assalamu alaikum. I would like to know regarding Udhiya or Qurbani. So, alhamdulillah, we booked Qurbani through, not Nusuk, sorry, through this company. But I heard it's just for Hajj, but we have to, if we are able, we have to do another Qurbani for ourselves.
Yeah, this is a good question. So if you're doing Hajj, then the hadi will be fine, but it is praiseworthy to do another qurbani elsewhere, but you don't have to. You don't have to do another qurbani.
All right. But we used to do it back home in Bangladesh, but one of the shaykh said it is recommended or something like this. If we can.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, so it is recommended. You will be rewarded for it.
All right. Okay. So that's but it's no. I don't have to like. It's not compulsory, right? Or
No, it's not
wajib, right?
compulsory. Yeah, it's not. It's not. No.
So by giving Qurbani or Udhiya in Makkah, we will fulfill our the obligatory or the
No,
wajib
no. So the sacrifice in Mecca is called a hadi, and it's a
Haji. Okay.
sacrifice that you're giving. It's not qurbani in Mecca. It's a hadi, and it's a gift that you're giving to the residents of the Haram for Allah Azza wa Jal allowing you to do Hajj and Umrah from one journey. Because the default was that you came from your home and then you did Hajj, and then you'd have to go back your home and you would do another journey to do your Umrah.
All right. Okay. Jazakumullah.
What is that? Yes, so
So-
men can wear a waist bag. That's, yep. And flip-flop is highly recommended. Yes, this is the Hanafi madhab. So if you're following the Hanafi madhab, they recommend that the bone on the upper part of your foot, it should be uncovered. So that's why they would recommend flip-flops. So if you follow that opinion, then I would recommend that you get some good quality flip-flops. So if you're following the Hanafi opinion on this masala, then get some good quality flip-flops. But generally the hadith talk about the ankles being uncovered. So the main thing is that the ankle is uncovered. So women, yes, women can wear any footwear. Sun cream with zero fragrance, yes, you can put anything which does not have fragrance on the state of ihram, and you can brush your teeth as well on the state of ihram. Let's come back to these questions, inshallah. Let's go back, because this is really want to do a quick recap of these masail. And inshallah, there will be an opportunity when you're there to go over these slides again and go over some of these points again, inshallah. Now, once we enter the state of ihram, we want to start doing the talbiyah. We want to start doing the talbiyah, and the talbiyah is this statement: labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wal ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. This dhikr, which Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, this is the zina of Hajj. This is the adornment of Hajj, meaning you can beautify your act of worship, this Hajj, by doing this dhikr a lot. And as soon as you enter the state of ihram, you want to do this dhikr. And the Prophet ﷺ said that the best Hajj is the one which has the most al-ajj wa thajj. Al-ajj is the talbiyah is done the loudest, and thajj is where there's a lot of sacrifice that is done. So the people that will have the best Hajj are those people that do the most sacrifice and they do the most talbiyah. They do the most talbiyah. And this dhikr, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, here I am, labbaik is here I am. But there is an emphasis there. So Allah Azza wa Jal, through Ibrahim alayhi salam, made a call to Hajj. And this ummah answered that call in the most perfect way. So you are saying, here I am, I respond to your call. I respond to your call. Oh Allah, here I am. Here I am, you have no partner. Here I am. La sharika lak, labbaik. Innal hamda wa ni'mata lak. Indeed, all praise and blessings are yours. Wal mulk, and all sovereignty. You own everything. La sharika lak, and you have no partner. Maybe there will be an opportunity for us to go through some of the meanings of some of the adhkar and some of the du'as that we can do in Hajj at a later date, inshallah. Okay. Now, once we get to Mecca, we're going to do the talbiyah. The talbiyah is emphasized when you're traveling. It's also more emphasized when you go up a high place or when you're going down. So when the plane is landing, the talbiyah is even more emphasized. Likewise, if you go up a hill, the talbiyah is emphasized, and likewise when you go down. Now, once we get to Mecca, we want to start our tawaf of our umrah, and you don't have to start it straight away. Abdullah ibn Umar used to actually spend a night before he will enter the haram. So he would be fresh when he would enter the haram, and then he could start his Umrah Tawaf fresh and not be fatigued. So if you're the type of person that gets fatigued and you wanted to rest, there'll be nothing wrong with resting in your hotel or apartment in Azizia before you go to do your tawaf. But once you go to do your tawaf, you want to be in the state of wudu and you want to enter the mosque and proceed towards the Kaaba. There is no dua that was mentioned from the Prophet ﷺ when you see the Kaaba for the first time. However, it was mentioned from Umar ibn al-Khattab that he used to say, Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam, hayyina rabbana bis salam. So scholars took from this that you can make dua while seeing the Kaaba. And another reason being is because a person, especially when they see the Kaaba for the first time, there is an emotional feeling of joy and feeling of closeness to Allah Azza wa Jal. And this could be why some scholars they said that this could be a moment for your dua to be accepted. So if you feel this emotional feeling, then you can raise up your dua, your hands, and make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. But there isn't really a sunnah behind this from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Now, once we start the Kaaba, you want to follow the circuit, and often there will be signs and there will be workers that are carrying out crowd control, and usually it's been quite good in the past. So you want to follow their advice and you want to follow the circuit round until you come to the black stone. And before you get to the black stone, what do you want to do? For men, you want to uncover your right shoulder, and this is called al-ittiba'. Al-ittiba', as you can see in the picture there. So you're going to put the ihram, the middle of the ihram, under your armpit, and throw the other ends over the other shoulder. Throw the other ends over the other shoulder. And then you're going to stop the talbiyah and you're going to look for the black stone. So the next slide has some tips on finding the black stone or the beginning of the tawaf. These are the signs that you can look for. Is you can look for this green light on the ground floor. You will also see signs like this, as well as on the upper floors as well. So this will be the beginning of the tawaf, and often you'll find congestion in these areas because people slow down to point towards the Kaaba or to point towards the black stone to start their tawaf. Now, once you start the tawaf, we're going to do 7 circuits of tawaf. Now, the books of fiqh and also the books of the guidebooks on Hajj and Umrah talk about ramal or brisk walking, and this is a sunnah to do it for the first 3 circuits for your first tawaf when you come to Mecca. This is difficult to do on the ground floor because of the congestion, and you might harm other people. And as is narrated in some of the narrations where the Prophet ﷺ told Umar al-Khattab that you are a strong man, so be careful you don't hurt anyone by attempting to touch or kiss the black stone. So if you're going to cause harm to others, then it's best to leave a sunnah like this. And that's why we would not recommend doing ramal, because it's not practical on the ground floor and there's a difficulty element to it on doing it on the upper floors. And on the upper floors, if you attempt to do it, then again your ramal might involve running into people or harming others as well. Now, once you finish your 7 circuits, you want to cover your right shoulder and pray 2 rakahs. And you can actually pray this 2 rakah anywhere. You can pray this 2 rakah anywhere. And if you like, a good place to pray is to make the maqam of Ibrahim between you and the Kaaba. And this is what the maqam of Ibrahim looks like. And it's the side of where the door of the Kaaba is based. So you want to place the door of the Kaaba, but you're going to go much further back, and you don't want to be close to the maqam of Ibrahim because there's a lot of congestion there, and you're actually risking your health, and you're also making it difficult for the other people to do tawaf if you get close to the maqam of Ibrahim and attempt to pray your 2 rakah there. Now, when we're doing the tawaf, the only dua, and actually this is the only dua that was narrated from the Prophet ﷺ, and this is also a dua that comes in the ayat of Hajj in Surah Al-Baqarah. And if Allah Azza wa Jal gives us a tawfiq, maybe we cover this dua in one of the talks on the dhikr, the adhkar, and the du'as of Hajj. The Prophet ﷺ, between the Yemeni corner and the Black Stone, he would make this dua, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. So in your tawaf, we recommend that you make any dua. Any dua. We don't recommend that you take these books that have set out du'as for each circuit, because that does not come from the heart. The purpose of Hajj, Allah Azza wa Jal wants the dua to come from your heart. And so you can make the dua in any language and make it personal to yourself. And in between your du'as, you can do any type of dhikr, because you've got to think of dua as two types. There's a dua which is a direct asking, and there is a dua which is an indirect type of asking. As the poet, he said, if a person praises you, then it suffices him from him presenting his need in front of you. You've got to think of a king. If you come to a generous king who's wealthy, he owns everything, and you praise him, what will he do? He will give you your need and beyond your need, especially Allah Azza wa Jal, because he knows your need. So your dhikr for your tawaf may just be dhikr, may just be tasbih, it may just be istighfar, it may consist of sending salah upon the Prophet. It doesn't have to be specific du'as, oh Allah, give me health, oh Allah, give me Jannah. It doesn't have to be those specific things. It could just be dhikr, and you leave it to Allah Azza wa Jal for him to fulfill your need. Like the man who came to, the companion who came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, should I make a third of my dua sending salah upon you? The Prophet ﷺ said, that's good, but if you did more, that will be better for you. And he said, what about half? He said, yes, that's good. But if you did more, then it will be better for you. He said, what if I made my whole dua just sending salah upon you? I.e., I didn't ask anything directly, but I spent the whole time I would have done asking for my need, just sending salah upon you. The Prophet said, yes, if you did this, your sins would be forgiven and your needs would be fulfilled. After we finish the tawaf, we've prayed the 2 rak'ah. You will find in the books of fiqh, they talk about going back to touch the black stones. We haven't covered touching the black stone or touching the Yemeni corner because it's often difficult to do. And it's not really praiseworthy to go in there, causing harm to others, attempting to touch the black stone, because often it will involve pushing and shoving, and so we don't recommend touching the black stone or the Yemeni corner, either before, during, or after the tawaf. But once you prayed your 2 rak'ah, there is another aspect that's mentioned in the ahadith and the books of how to do Hajj, and that is drinking Zamzam. So you can drink Zamzam before you start your sa'i. If you could go on silent until you're called up to ask your question, please. So starting the sa'i, you want to start from Mount Safa. And Mount Safa is the closest mount to the black stone or the green light. And you can actually see it here in this picture. In the middle picture, you can see the green light just there, and it says Ila Safa, to Mount Safa. Again, they usually have a one-way crowd control barriers up. Then they will sort of usher you towards Safa anyway once you finish your tawaf and you come out away. And then once you get to Mount Safa, you want to make this dhikr facing the Kaaba. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu, lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. لا إله إلا الله وحده أنجز وعده ونصر عبده وهزم الأحزاب وحده. So you make this dhikr, and then you want to make a dua. You raise your hands facing the Kaaba and you make a dua. One of the students, Ibrahim an-Nakhai, he said that the students of Abdullah bin Mas'ud used to make a dua the length of reading 25 ayat. The length of dua of reading, their length of dua on Safa Marwa on each stage was about 25 ayat. Now, if you think about Surah Al-Mulk is a famous surah which has 30 ayahs. So just under the time it will take you to read Surah Al-Mulk, they used to stand for that long making dua, and then they would come down the mount of Safa and then walk towards Al-Marwa. As they come down the mount, it's desirable for it's desirable for the men to walk fast, and it's a type of running between the two green areas, and I think now there's green lights going across the base of the valley, base of the valley, and you can do dhikr and dua between between Safa and Marwa. And then once you get to Marwa, you want to climb onto the mount, and again you face the Kaaba and you do the same dua that you did on Safa. And some scholars, they said this is obviously taken from Hajar. Hajar alayhi salam, she was looking for provisions because her son Ismail was hungry, and she had this fear over her child who had no access to milk because her milk had run out, and she had no food to top up or water to top up. So she was running between Safa and Marwa distressed, looking for some type of faraj or some type of opening, and Allah Azza wa Jal gave her that opening in the form of Zamzam, the benefits of which would continue much after she passes away. And likewise, the scholars, they said, a person when they're going between Safa and Marwa, they should also remember their need. And the main need obviously is Yawm al-Qiyamah and the Akhirah and the burden of your sins, and asking Allah Azza wa Jal to do the same by you doing this act, where Allah Azza wa Jal opens up your burden and relieves your burden from you and makes your affairs easy for you. On the last circuit, so you're going to start from Safa. From Safa to Marwa is one circuit, and then Marwa back to Safa will be two. So you're always going to be on an even number when you're at Safa, and so you're going to end on Marwa. And this reminds me, actually, I recommend that you have some sort of counter with you, especially if you're forgetful. So you can have either beads. Nowadays, on your phone, you can get apps. Actually, there's a web page, I think it's called tasbih.org. There's like a web page where you can actually keep a count of what circuit you're on. But if you're confused, then you go with the lesser number. So for example, if I'm on Safa and I don't know whether I've done, this is my second time I've been on Safa or my fourth time I've been on Safa, then I'm going to assume that it's my second. So you go with the lower number because that's a certainty. Likewise, when you're doing tawaf as well, you're not sure whether this is circuit number 4 or circuit number 3. The certainty is that you know it's circuit, you've only done 3. So you're going to assume that this is circuit number 3. After you've done your sa'i, the Safa Marwa, then you will either shave or shorten your hair. The scholars, they recommend you shorten your hair and you leave the shaving. This is obviously for men. You leave the shaving till Hajj, especially when you're going, there'll be a short time between the Hajj and the Umrah. For women, they want to shorten up to about an inch, and scholars, they say they use your fingertip. So from the first crease to the end of your fingertip, you just grab that amount of hair from the end and you can shorten that, and that's good enough for them to come out of the state of ihram. Yeah, so this is a picture of the green lighted area where running is recommended. Again, if you're with someone who can't run, someone who's disabled, someone who doesn't have the ability to run, or you're with women or children, then it's recommended that you don't run. So you're leaving a sunnah for something more noble, which is to make things easier for others around you. So in summary, we've got the tawaf and we've got the Safa Marwa, and this is a picture of a rough breakdown of each. So tawaf consists of 7 circuits and 2 units of prayer. And then the sa'i, you're starting at Safa, 7 circuits, and then you have either the shaving or the shortening. And this is really your umrah. It's really those 3 things. Where you could add the 4th is the ihram. So entering the state of ihram, doing tawaf, doing sa'i, and then removing some hair is good enough. Now the hair for the men has to be removed all over. Now if you have long hair, then you can take it from the tip, and you want to take at least an inch. After you finish your Umrah, we recommend that you pray all 5 salahs in the masjid, and you pray Qiyamul Layl. You increase your dhikr and Quran recitation, and you do good to others, and you give charity, and you attend any lectures that will be delivered there. Now, you have to remember that you're going to be in the most noble place on this planet. And this is the most beloved place to Allah Azza wa Jal. As the Prophet ﷺ said, you're also in the most beloved time to Allah Azza wa Jal, which is the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. And the Prophet ﷺ said that there are no good deeds that are more beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal than those deeds that are done in these 10 days. So you have an opportunity to outdo others by your presence in Mecca. And some scholars, and this was narrated from Hassan al-Basri, it's not just the salah, which is multiplied 100,000 times, but also other deeds are also multiplied 100,000 times. So this was, like I said, an opinion held by a scholar like Hassan al-Basri. So you want to increase your good deeds. Even if this opinion is not strong, what you should remember is any place that Allah Azza wa Jal has venerated and honored, and time Allah Azza wa Jal has venerated and honored, then doing a good deed in that time is greater than doing a good deed in any other time and place. Okay, going on to the rites of Hajj.
Assalamu alaikum. Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
Just quickly, regarding sisters, if they're on their menses and they're trying to do tamattu and they can't do the umrah, so am I to understand they switch to Qiran, their intention to Qiran, they just do the sa'i, but they don't do the haircut and they don't do the tawaf, and the Hajj starts, so they do the Hajj, and when it comes to the Hajj, Tawaf, Ifada, they combine the Tawaf, Umrah Tawaf with the Ifada. Is that correct?
Pretty much, yes. Yeah, pretty much. This is what happened to Aisha radiallahu anha. When she came to Mecca, she started her haid and she started crying. And the Prophet said, what happened? This is something Allah Azza wa Jal has just written upon the daughters of Adam. Just do whatever the Hujjaj do, but don't do the Tawaf around the house. And so she did. She ended up switching from doing Tamattu to Qiran.
Okay, so then they just do sa'i, then the Hajj starts, do the Hajj rituals, and when it comes to the Hajj Ifada Tawaf, just combine the Umrah Tawaf with the Ifada Tawaf, and
yes,
then cut the hair.
Yes, exactly.
Jazakallah khair.
What is that? Okay, on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. On the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. This is the starts of the rites of Hajj. So you're going to be in Aziziyah, you're going to be in Mecca, either in the hotel or in your apartment in Aziziyah. And this day is called Yawm Tarwiyah. We want to re-enter the state of Ihram for Hajj. We're going to re-enter the state of Ihram for Hajj. So we're going to do what we did before. We're going to have a shower. If we need to trim our nails, remove hair, we're going to do this. Now, please remember that some of you may be sharing your hotel rooms or apartments with others. So please be careful about leaving mess behind if you're removing pubic hair in a shared bathroom with other Hujjaj. We don't want to harm one another. And so please leave the toilets and the bathroom clean if you're gonna be doing this. But so you're going to re-enter the state of Ihram for Hajj, have a shower, and then you're going to proceed to Mina. Now once you get onto the bus, you're going to say the talbiyah and enter the state of Ihram for Hajj. So this time you're going to say Labbaik Allahumma Hajja. Labbaik Allahumma Hajja. And then you will enter the sacred state of Ihram for Hajj. And then you'll proceed to Mina. And then you will spend the day and night there. I'm just going to play this video because this has some information of Mina. Now this is pre-COVID and I'm expecting that it has changed slightly since then, but I will play it because it does have some information about what Mina is like. So generally, Mina, there is limited space. You're probably only recommended to take a rucksack, something like a cabin-sized luggage for Mina. I would not recommend taking um, one of those uh, wheelie type of suitcases. They can be a bit of a pain because they tend to get into they tend to get in the way, and it's actually not easy to drag them along Mina as well. So I would recommend a rucksack is taken for Mina, and the majority of toilets are squat toilets, and there tends to be a shower head over the top. The toilets towards the end, so usually the end toilet on this side here where my arrow is, and also the other end toilet here, the last toilet in this row will be like what they will call a French type of toilet, which is like a seated toilet. So if you can't bend down and squat to use the traditional toilet, then you want to queue up towards the end. But again, this is how it used to be. Things may have changed since then. The wudu area tends to get congested, and you probably need to go there for about an hour before the salah to make wudu. There are some tricks that some of the guides may be able to advise you on how you can sort of avoid those queues other than queuing up or going for an hour before. Sometimes on the road, there are some areas where you can make wudu from taps. That's one trick, but again, it may be worth asking the Hujjaj or the guides there when you're there on if they have any tricks up their sleeves regarding on doing wudu. Now, it's Sunnah, the Prophet ﷺ, he spent the 8th of Dhul Hijjah from Dhuhr up until Fajr. The next day he spent it in Mina. He spent it in Mina. And after Fajr he set off for Arafah. And this is the 9th day of Dhul Hijjah. So you leave for Arafah after sunrise. And a lot of this is depending upon the mutawif and logistics that are arranged by the mutawif. So don't be too concerned about when you leave. The main thing is being there after the zawal. Now, if you're told that you're going to be one of the later groups to leave, I highly recommend that you get some rest and you sleep. You go back to sleep, because the period before the zawal or before dhuhr is not a period for ibadah for Arafah. You want to reserve your energy, your dhikr, and your dua for after the zawal, after the dhuhr salah and the asr salah. That is the time to get up and do your dhikr and to make your dua. Now, when you go to Arafah, likewise, if you get there early, again, I recommend that you get some rest, then you go to sleep, you have a qaylula, a siesta, and so you're fresh and you're not sleepy later in the day when you're there. And then there will be a khutbah, and then you will pray Zuhr and Asr together, combined. And we're travelers as well, so we're going to pray 2 and 2 for each. And then you're going to go out and make dua. Then you're going to go out and make dua. And if you remember that rule that I showed you before, that dua is 2 things. There is a direct asking, so you can ask Allah Azza wa Jal for direct things, and then there is an indirect asking where you're just praising Allah Azza wa Jal, and you're asking Allah Azza wa Jal indirectly for Him to fulfill your needs. And the Prophet ﷺ said that the best dua that you can make is the dua on Arafah, and the best dua that the prophets before me have said was this dhikr. So this is a dhikr you want to oft repeat on the day of Arafah. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu, lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. So when you're tired, or you are tired and you don't have something specific to ask Allah Azza wa Jal, you should be doing this dhikr. And if it helps you to do the dhikr, to have dhikr beads, a tasbih, then you can carry this with you. Sometimes having a tasbih in your hand, whether it's the electronic one or the old school beads, sometimes having that will remind you to do dhikr while you're either walking to get tea, coffee, or drinks or refreshments. Then it's worth having that with you as a reminder, and if it aids you in your dhikr. Once the sun has set, the Prophet ﷺ then left for Muzdalifah. So it's a sunnah to leave for Muzdalifah after sunset, and then the Prophet ﷺ prayed Maghrib and Isha together in Muzdalifah, combining the two salahs. Now, if you think about why is it that the Prophet ﷺ, why is it the sunnah to combine on Arafah? The sunnah is to combine on Arafah to leave a wide period for dua. To leave a wide period for dua. And the scholars, they said that it's not mustahab for a person on Arafah to actually fast on Arafah. And some of the companions, they had doubts whether the Prophet ﷺ was fasting on Arafah. So one of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ sent him some milk, and he drank it in front of everyone. And this removed their doubt that he wasn't fasting on the day of Arafah. There is another benefit from this hadith, that the Prophet ﷺ did not have lunch. Did not have lunch. Now, this should push us that Allah Azza wa Jal allowed us to combine two salahs. Well, two salahs at the beginning and two salahs at the end of the day. Why? To open up the time for us to make dua and for us to do dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal. And Allah Azza wa Jal draws closer to the plain of Arafah, and He boasts about those on that plain to His angels. Allah Azza wa Jal boasts about those people that are on this plain of Arafah to His angels, and asks the angels, what do these people want? So Allah Azza wa Jal wants to fulfill your needs, and so you can put those needs before Him. And if you feel it best for you to find a quiet place by yourself outside the tent, then this is something you can do. We don't recommend you going to the Mount Rahmah, the Jabal Rahmah in Arafah. There is nothing specific about this. The Prophet ﷺ stood in Arafah and he said, I stand here, and Arafah, all of it is a place of standing. The main aim for the day of Arafah is for you to do dua and for you to do dhikr and for you to show Allah Azza wa Jal how much you venerate Him and your commitment to Islam and your need for His forgiveness and for Him to fulfill your needs and overlook your shortcomings. And this is what you want to spend your time doing. You don't want to spend your time trying to go to Mount Rahmah, where you're unlikely to find a quiet place where you're going to make this dua, or your heart will be in a similar state. Again, maybe in the talk on dua and dhikr, we'll talk a little bit more about the secrets of getting your dua accepted. So the other thing with Arafah is Arafah, the tents, they all look the same. So if you leave the tent, you're going to be in a tent in Arafah, and then there's likely to be an encampment. There'll be a number. And that encampment, if you leave it, it's very easy to get lost, and it's very hard to find where you are. Now, those of you with smartphones, I do recommend that you use Google Maps. And when you get to Mecca, or maybe even before Mecca, if you download a map, an offline map of Mecca, and you want an offline map of Mina, and an offline map of Muzdalifah and Arafah as well. So if you picture Mecca, to the east of Mecca you have Mina, and to the east of Mina you have Muzdalifah, and to the east of Muzdalifah you have Arafah. And so whenever you go to a certain place, so a certain tent, you can drop a pin. So just in case you do go off from the group, or you find yourself that you've gone off from the group, you have pinned these three stations, where you are in Mina, where you are in Mecca, where you are in Mina, where you are in Muzdalifah, where you are in Arafat. So just in case if you do get lost, you can use Google Maps in an offline mode to find your way back, Yes, so Brother Ali has sent a message that there will be a training session in Azizia on how to drop pins on Google Maps. So don't worry if you don't know how to use Google Maps. There will be a training session on how you can use Google Maps, and it's a very effective way. And this allows you to have more freedom in doing the Hajj the way you want to do it. And you're not restricted by a group, then you have to do things by a group. And it's a very useful way for also pinning your apartment in Azizia and many other things. And you can use it to show taxi drivers as well where you want to be dropped off. But again, they'll go through this. But I recommend, I'm not sure how good the internet connections will be abroad, but I do recommend downloading some of these maps so you have them, you have offline access to them before you go. Now, once you get to Muzdalifah, you're going to spend the night there. Now, in Mina, you have a tented area, and in Arafah, you have a tented area. Muzdalifah is an open plain. So I'll play this video so you have an idea of what Muzdalifah is like. So as you can see, it looks like this. There's people everywhere. And it's very easy for you to get lost amongst the crowds. So in Muzdalifah especially, you want to stay together or stay in groups. In the past, we've used flags and flagpoles as a symbol for people to gather around. And this will probably be used again this year. So you want to stay together, and if somebody's going to the toilet, you need to remember where you're going and the route that you take back, so you don't get lost. Even if you do get lost, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. Why? Because you would have pinpointed your place in Mina, and you will know how to find your way back. And often the Westerners, the European tents in Muzdalifah, are usually quite close to the Mina side. And in the past, the walk from Muzdalifah has not been much to walk from Muzdalifah to Mina. Also in the past, we've walked from Muzdalifah to Mina. We found it more efficient than waiting for the bus. And the sunnah in Muzdalifah is once you pray Maghrib and Isha, is to spend the night there. And you want to sleep. You can pray Qiyamul Layl, you can do your witr, and you can go to sleep. And then you wake up in the morning. And this night, Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَسَرْ, and by the night that goes quickly. By the night that goes quickly. And Fajr, according to the Mufassirin, is the Fajr Salah that you pray in Muzdalifah on the 10th. Allah Azza wa Jal takes an oath by the Fajr Salah prayed on Muzdalifah on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. That shows you the nobility and the place of that Salah with Allah Azza wa Jal. And also that night, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَسْرِ, the night that goes very quickly. And it is a night that when you put your head down to go to sleep, it will almost be like you woke up like this. And this awakening is a resemblance to the awakening of Yawm al-Qiyamah. When people go to their graves and they wake up, it will be like it was yesterday, or it will just be like it was a moment of time that they were in their graves. And when you wake up, the sunnah is to pray Fajr at the beginning time, and then after Fajr to do dhikr and dua until just before sunrise. And you want to set off from Muzdalifah. It's sunnah to set off from Muzdalifah just before sunrise. And again, just to keep things more efficient, and it also gives the group more freedom, is to go by walk. And often this walk has been about a half an hour walk between where you set out camp in Muzdalifah and your Mina tent is about a half an hour walk, but then it's another hour and a half or so to Mecca. It's another hour and a half or so to Mecca. Now things may have changed, so I would recommend that when you're in Azizia, that you ask your guides on what the plan will be on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. Now, some books talk about collecting stones for Jamarat, and you can collect the stones for the Jamarat in Muzdalifah. You don't have to. The Prophet ﷺ asked Usama ibn Zayd to collect the stones on the way to the Jamarat. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, he picked up a stone and he said, with the likes of this stone, throw. And he was indicating, don't let your stones be too big and they should not be too small. And he said in another hadith that your stone should be not big enough for you to kill an animal with. Like if you're hunting an animal and you wanted to shoot at it, it wouldn't be a stone that you would shoot at to kill an animal, but it would be small enough for you to take out someone's eye. And some scholars, they said, you can use the end of your fingertip. So for cutting here, we said you used from the first crease of your finger to the tip, about an inch. As for a guide for the size of the stone, they said you can use the rough circumference of the end of your fingertip. Or some scholars in the books of fiqh, they talk about it should be between a chickpea, a dry chickpea. So on that left are dry chickpeas, and that's what they look like in your hand. So it should be between that size and the size of a hazelnut. So that's the size of a hazelnut on the right. You don't want the stones to be bigger than the size of a hazelnut, So anything in between those two sizes is acceptable. So on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran calls this Yawm al-Hajj al-Akbar, the greatest day of Hajj. Because on this day, there are a number of deeds that you're doing. And this is the day of Eid for everyone else. While the people in Hajj, they are doing some of the most beloved deeds to Allah Azza wa Jal. And this starts with, once you leave Muzdalifah, you want to go towards the Jamratul Aqaba, the stoning of the last pillar, of the three pillars. And often this has been on the other side of Mina to where the European tents have been. So we're going to go to Jamratul Aqaba, the last Jamra, the last pillar, and throw 7 stones at that pillar. And there is no dua after the last pillar. And once you've stoned the last pillar, then often what we've done is we've continued to come off, and then we've gone back to our apartment in Azizia. We've gone back to our apartment in Azizia, and at our apartment in Azizia, we will go to sleep. You can have something to eat because you're going to probably be tired and hungry. You can have something to eat and drink, and then you go to sleep, often until Dhuhr time. And it can take from sunrise till Dhuhr time, and sometimes it can be a little bit after Dhuhr, where you get announcement of your slaughter being done. And this is often sent by a text message or WhatsApp. So once you get the announcement that your slaughter has been done on behalf of you, you can then shave or shorten your hair. You can shave or shorten your hair, and then you're going to have a shower and come out of your clothes of ihram, and you're going to wear like normal clothes, and then go out and do your tawaf of Hajj and your sa'i. Go out and do your tawaf of Hajj and sa'i. Okay, any questions up to this point? Because there's a lot that we've covered from the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th. Anything specifically for the 10th, because that could be the most confusing. Now, regarding the slaughter, if you don't know, regarding these 3 things, so the best way is to do it in this order. You stone the last pillar, then you slaughter, then you shave and shorten your hair, then you have a shower, and if you're a male, you're going to wear something like a thobe, and then you're going to do your tawaf of Hajj and sa'i. And then after this, you want to go back to Mina. This is the best way to do it, and this is how the Prophet ﷺ did it. However, the Prophet ﷺ was asked by some companions that mixed up the order. They did the slaughter before the stoning, and they did the tawaf before the stoning, and the Prophet ﷺ said, that's fine, it's overlooked, and there's nothing wrong with it. So the order is highly recommended, but it's not conditional, especially if you don't have access to information when your slaughter will be done. But if you have access when your slaughter will be done, this is the recommended way that we do it. This is what we recommend that you do. Do you have any questions so
Assalamu alaikum. I
far?
have a question.
Yes.
Brother, can we do from when you go from Aqaba after Jamarat, if we go to our hotel, instead of hotel and waiting for the udhiyah to be done, can we go and do tawaf and then wait for udhiyah and then do the shaving?
This is not the best way to do it. This is not the best way to do it. I know on the 10th that you will feel like you just want to, because you're tired, you're hungry, you're sweaty. And this is what you would want to do. You just want to come out your haram, and people rush it. The best way to do it is like this, is to do it in this order. So you stone the jamrah, you wait for the slaughter, then you shave and shorten your hair, and then you do the tawaf of Hajj.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. I understand for the sacrifice that because the authorities are doing it, it's just best to assume after stoning the Jamarat, the sacrifice has been done, and then just to go and cut the hair, because obviously a lot of us won't know if the sacrifice has been done or not.
So if you're doing the sacrifice through Hunafa, through the guides, Ali Hussein, or Abul Hussein, or Shekul, if they're organizing, or Brother Saeed, if they're organizing your sacrifice, then they will get notification when it's done, because they have a company that they will have the sacrifice done on behalf of you. So once the sacrifices are done for all of you, then you will receive notification of when it's done.
Okay. And Tawaf Ifada, I heard on the 10th, not recommended because it's going to be too busy. Millions of people are going to be doing Tawaf. It's better to go the following day.
Yeah, in the past it's been where the most of them had this idea, and actually sometimes on the 11th is the busiest day. So I would recommend doing it on the Tawaf. The crowd control is quite good in the Haram, and all of the floors are open. The Salahs, the Imam, he does the Salah soon after the adhan. The Salah is done, and they make things easy for the people to do Tawaf. So I would recommend doing the Tawaf al-Ifada and the Sa'i the same day. Now, if you have mobility issues and you think that you won't be able to do all of it in one go, then yes, you can delay the Tawaf al-Ifada. You can even do the Tawaf al-Ifada towards the end, even after Mina. But this is the recommended method to do it.
And just one more question. In Mina, in terms of, I know we have to pay a qasr, but can we do our own jama'ah? Because obviously having access to masjid is going to be problematic. But if we're in a little group, can we do our own jama'ah in qasr?
Yes, so the guides will do the adhan. They will arrange they will have speakers up, and there will be an adhan done, an iqamah done, and you are going to pray together with the group.
Okay,
Pray together with the group, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I just have 3 questions. The first question is about Tawaf al-Ifada. Can we combine Tawaf al-Ifada with Tawaf al-Wada'?
Yes, and this is recommended if you have mobility issues and you find it difficult to do two tawafs, or you will find it difficult to make your way to the Haram on the 10th or the 11th or the 12th or the 13th, then you can wait till you're back in Aziziyah, and you can do your Tawaf al-Ifada with your Tawaf al-Wada'. This is acceptable. What's best practice is as what we recommended.
Jazakallah khair. The second question is about sa'i. Is it mandatory to do sa'i with Tawaf al-Ifada if I already did it with Umrah before Hajj?
Yes, it is mandatory to do sa'i. This is your sa'i of Hajj. So this will be one of the pillars of Hajj. So in terms of the pillars of Hajj, is entering the state of Ihram, being on Arafah on the day of Arafah, and then your Tawaf and sa'i. Those are the pillars of Hajj. And the third question?
And the last question is, if you can give us like an estimate about like time-wise or like walking distance from our Mukhayyam in Mina to Arafat, and then from Arafat to Muzdalifah, and then from Muzdalifah back to Mina? Like time-wise, how long does it usually take?
Excellent question, mashallah. Very good question. Do you see the difficulty is with the tawaf and the sa'i is getting to the haram. Once you get to the haram, if you have mobility issues, you can arrange a wheelchair and you can ask there will be assistance there where they can push the wheelchair. Often they do ask for money, and you will have to pay something, but they will do the tawaf and sa'i for you. If you can't do it physically, you can't do the tawaf and sa'i. In terms of time and distance, this is a very good question. Now, on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, there is a lot of walking. Previous years, there were brothers that have these stats on their iPhones, and it's close to 30 miles worth of walking. Close to 30 miles worth of walking for the whole thing. And so there's a lot of walking, but you'll be surprised. Allah Azza wa Jal gives the believers strength to do this walk. So don't short sell yourself in terms of your ability to do the walk. In previous seminars, I remember I've mentioned stories of even aunties with walking sticks that we recommended. And actually, we said that we're going to leave you behind in Mina, and they caught up with us. And even this auntie, she did not have her diabetes medication and even her blood pressure medication, but she managed to do the whole walk throughout the whole thing. So it can be done. It can be done. And sometimes it's easier to do it non-stop. It's a bit like running a marathon. It's easier to keep on going because once you slow down, this is when the joints swell up and the feet swell up, and then your bruising kicks in, and then it becomes harder to restart. Whereas if you keep the momentum going until the end, sometimes it's easier. And Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. Babe, any other questions?
There are some questions on the chat. You've got access to
Sorry.
it.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Sorry, can I ask a question?
Yes, you can, yeah.
Sheikh, sorry. So our flights from Heathrow to Doha, we're going by Qatar Airways. Should we make our intention in Doha? Can we do that and then change to Ihram, or do you do it prior to landing there? Because it's a one stop to Doha, then we're going to Jeddah, I think. So how do we do our intention in Doha, maybe, or?
Yeah, you can do it. As long as you go before those boundaries. So Qarnul Manazil, or Dhatu Irq, that direction that your plane will come from, before that boundary, any time before that, it could be in Doha, it could even be from your house, it could be in Heathrow. Any time before then, you will enter the state of Ihram.
Okay, Jazakallah. Thank you, Sheikh. Thank you.
Okay, Jayed.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I have one question, please. Sorry.
Yes,
to my understanding, I might be getting it wrong. So you are recommending that we go from Jamarat to our hotel, take some rest, and then wait for our news of the sacrifice to come in?
Yes.
And then we do our shaving of the head?
Yes.
And then we change our ihram?
Yes. You come out of Ihram. Yeah, you're going to have a shower.
So
and then you wear normal clothes.
Yes, so wear the thobe, for example.
Yeah.
And then we go to Mecca and do our tawaf and sa'i?
Yes.
Okay, so we can go to Mecca on the Hajj by shaving our head and coming out of ihram clothes, and then it's still valid, right?
Yes, you can, yes.
Okay. Khair, jazakallah khair.
Wa jazak. There's a lot of written questions here. Let me just stick to the ones that are related to Hajj. From where do we do our intention for Hajj? It will be from your hotel apartment, or it will be on the bus. So once you get on the bus, inshallah, the guide will remind you to enter the state of Ihram on the bus. This is the best. Even if you enter the state of Ihram in Mina, this will be fine. So that's when you'll start the talbiyah. And actually, the people on the bus will start their talbiyah, and that should be a reminder for you. So رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا, from there when you call to the black stone, continuously. You would say it continuously until you get to the black stone. Please, can you let us know when we reach Mecca? Will we go to our hotel and then we go straight for Umrah? Okay, this is a good question. When you go to, you're gonna, once you leave Jeddah airport, the bus will take you to your hotel. The bus will take you to the hotel and unload your luggage. So you're going to go straight to the hotel. There isn't going to be a group Umrah. So you're going to go to the hotel and then you'll be allowed to go for Umrah. You'll be given some guidance on what to tell the taxi driver on your way back. And if you need help, you can ask the guides to help you. For example, if it's your first time and you're a little bit concerned, in the past, guides have set meeting points for people to do Umrah and then meet and then they go back together. So this is an option. There is a downside to that option. You have to be patient and wait for the last person to come, however long they take before you go back to the hotel. But that option may be there. If I do a full Umrah before Hajj, do I still need to? Yes, you do need to do Tawaf Sa'i again with Tawaf al-Ifada for Tamattu. So drinking water, Zamzam water is after Tawaf. But again, it's flexible. You don't have to. This is the Sunnah. What if a woman starts her menstruation during Hajj? So then I would recommend that if a sister does start her menstruation, when she does start it, she contacts one of the guides and we'll resolve that issue, inshallah. We'll speak to her directly. Okay, women can enter the haram to do sa'i when on menses. Okay, good question. So here, I would recommend delaying the sa'i. So the woman would delay the sa'i and do her sa'i with her tawaf al-ifada because she's doing Qiran. There are unique cases where a woman may be forced to enter the haram and do her sa'i, but again, those are very, very rare and they require a special fatwa. Again, that's why I don't want to really confuse people. So for specific cases like that, if a sister needs advice, she can contact us. Okay, another good question. Can we go back to our apartment in Azizia during Mina? Let me answer this question with the next set of slides that are related to the days of Mina, inshallah. A good question. How do you combine the prayers that are combined? So the combining is only done in Arafah and Muzdalifah, and you will pray 2 rakah for Dhuhr, 2 rakah for Asr, and they'll be done together. So there'll be 1 adhan and 2 iqamas, and then 1 salah will be done after the other. And likewise, when you get to Muzdalifah, there'll be an adhan, and there'll be an iqama for Maghrib. You'll pray Maghrib salah, and then after Maghrib salah, there'll be another iqama, and then you'll pray Isha. Don't worry, this will be done as a group. So you'll do these salahs as a group. Another good question. During my stay in Mecca before leaving to Azizia, can I do Umrah on behalf of my parents, may Allah have rahmah on them, or should I do it after Hajj? So this one, it depends on your time. I think it's going to be tough. If you're going on the 4th of Dhul Hijjah, you're going to probably fatigue yourself to go on a journey from the UK to Mecca and then do an Umrah, and then between, say, the 6th and the 8th, you're going to try and squeeze in another Umrah. So as I'm aware, you are going to have some time after Hajj to do an Umrah. So you could do an Umrah on behalf of your parents after Hajj. Do you recommend we take a backpack as a hand luggage or a hand trolley? So hand trolleys are quite good, like in the airport, in the UK, on the roads. Backpacks are ideal for Mina. Yeah, so definitely brothers I usually recommend. I think a backpack works quite well. If you like the hand trolleys, like in the airport, or on the roads, then you could take that. But generally, a backpack tends to be more practical. It's foldable as well. You can sort of compress it, whereas with a hand trolley, you can't compress. So often what's happened in the past is when there's limited space in Mina, because when we go back to this slide in Mina, So if you look at this slide here, how do I get rid of this red line? Ali?
I think somebody's made a sketch. Are you able to
Okay.
erase it all?
No.
No, I think it's a sketch made on Zoom.
Okay, fine.
Maybe unshare and sharing and stuff. Yeah, I think it's gone.
No, it's
Nope.
permanent. Okay, so if you look at the space here, when you put these beds out, there's actually no space to walk along the middle. These beds here are folded. So there's no, and how do I do that? Remove annotations. Yeah, I'm sure that wasn't me who did that. Okay, so you see this space here, this walking space to this entrance. This is the entrance to the tent. Once you put these beds out, there's actually not much space there. So you tend to have to put your bag behind it. Now, if you've got a trolley, that's going to take up your space, your sleeping space, because you're going to have to fold your bed or you're going to disrupt the person opposite you. And that's why trolleys are not recommended when you go to Mina. It may be different this year, it may be different after COVID. Allah knows best. You might have more space, but I doubt it. I doubt it. But I think it's safer to take a backpack than it is to take a trolley. Okay, some good questions on here. Do you recommend, okay, what are the first two stoning pillars? Okay, the first two stoning pillars we're going to talk about in the remaining days of Hajj, from the 11th to the 13th of Dhul Hijjah, the days of Mina. Can we do the stoning anytime after Fajr? Yes, you can do the stoning anytime after Fajr. Again, there are rare circumstances where it may even be permitted before. But again, if the guides need to ask a question to get a fatwa for someone's rare circumstance, they can do. Is it sunnah to stay in the same? This is a very good question. Is it sunnah to stay in the same clothing for all 5 days of Hajj? No, it's not sunnah to stay in all the same clothing. If you need to change your clothing, you can do. Okay, if you need to change your ihram, you can do, and that's for both men and women. And if you need to shower in ihram, and you can do. Abdullah bin Abbas was seen showering, and he said the Prophet ﷺ would also shower in the state of ihram. Can women cut their own hair to come out of ihram? Yes, they can. Is there a deadline to do tawaf and sa'i? So there is no deadline to do tawaf and sa'i, and actually you can't come out of the ihram until you do your tawaf and sa'i, or you come out through a unique way. I'm not sure where our camps would be in Arafah. If we are not close to the masjid, can we stay in our camps and pray Zuhr and Asr separately? Okay, very good questions here from iPhone. Usually our camp is not near the masjid al-Namira. We don't recommend that you go to Masjid Namira. It's often very crowded. It's hard to get in and hard to get out. And also, the front part of Masjid Namira is actually not in Arafah. It's actually outside Arafah, and there are signs out there that do indicate where Arafah begins. So you can stay in your camps. Now there is an opinion in the Hanafi madhab that the only time you can combine in Arafah is when you're praying behind the Imam in Masjid Namira. So if you hold that opinion, then you can pray Dhuhr and Asr separately by yourself. I mean, the group will combine. But if there is a group amongst you that are following the Hanafi opinion in your Hajj, then we completely respect that, and you can pray Dhuhr and Asr separately. So you pray Dhuhr with the group, and then you can pray Asr separately. Are you allowed to take medication to delay menses in the days of Hajj? Yes, you can. So if you want to take medication to delay menses in the days of Hajj, then you can speak to a doctor and get medical advice. I'm not sure if pharmacists can give you that medical advice. If they can, you could speak to a pharmacist on the type of medication that they would advise. Hajj starts on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. When is it, or do we do Umrah if you arrive in Jeddah, for example, on June the 9th? What day is June the 9th?
4th of Dhul Hijjah.
4th of Dhul Hijjah, okay. So on the 4th of Dhul Hijjah, then you will do tawaf. You would have done sa'i on. You would have done your Umrah before the 8th, so that would be fine. Do we pray Jummah? If so, how do we do it? Yes, you will pray Jummah, unless if it's in the days of Hajj, then you won't pray Jummah in the days of Hajj, because you'll be travelers. But when you're in Mecca, you will pray Jummah. Can you do a second Umrah for family before Hajj, if able to, within the time rather than later? Yes, you can, but again, you may fatigue yourself if you did so. So let's continue. Let's continue on the
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
days of Mina. Yes, tfaddal.
You know, when in the Jummah situation, the 8th of Dhul Hijjah seems to be the Friday. So do we pray Jummah in the Masjid al-Haram and then leave, or what do we do?
Oh, excellent question. Okay. Yes, excellent question. So this would be, depending on your coach. Now, if you're in Aziziyah, then, and the instruction that you're giving by the Mutawif is that your coach will come much later, then you could pray Jummah. But if the Mutawif has given instruction that your coach is going to come before the Jummah Salah or around the Jummah Salah, then you will be exempt from praying the Jummah there. What is that? Or the days of Mina, after you've done the 10th. Now the 10th is a very exhausting day. It's a difficult day, and it's a day where you're doing a lot of acts of ibadah in one day. Yeah, you're walking from Muzdalifah to the last Jamrah, which is well over an hour, probably an hour and a half, and then from there you're going to walk back to Aziziyah, which could be another hour, maybe even an hour and a half. And then often when you've done your tawaf and sa'i, because you have another 2 or so million people that are doing their tawaf and sa'i, and they want to get back to Mina, the amount that you can end up paying for a taxi to drop you on the outskirts of Mina can be a lot. It can be well over £100 per person to share a taxi. So sometimes people have to walk back to Mina from Mecca. So there's a lot of walking. After this, on the 11th of Dhul Hijjah onwards, you go back to Mina, and it's another rite of Hajj. وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ فِي أَيَّامٍ مَعْدُودَاتٍ. Allah Azza wa Jal said, and make dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal in the short number of days that are left of Hajj. And this is the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th, and this is the 3 remaining days of Hajj, and they're called Ayyam Tashriq. And these, the Prophet said, are days of dhikr, shukr, and eating. So fasting is prohibited on these 3 days. Yeah, on these 3 days, and you're encouraged to do dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal. And dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal will include reading Quran, making dua, doing your morning and evening adhkar, sending salam upon the Prophet, doing tasbih, and doing istighfar, all of the other forms of dhikr that you are familiar with. And this is part of showing your gratitude to Allah Azza wa Jal. And also part of the dhikr on the days of Mina is stoning the 3 walls, the Jamarat. And this stoning takes place after the Zawal. After the Zawal. And the process is that you want to get to the Jamrah any point after the Zawal, so after the Dhuhr starts, and you will stone the first wall. And then after stoning the first wall, you will come to one side and face the Qibla and raise your hands and make dua. And then you will go forward and stone the second wall, and then come to one side and face the Qibla and make dua. And then you stone the last wall, and there is no dua after stoning the last pillar or the last wall, the last jamrah. And this is done once a day from the 11th to the 12th and the 13th. And you do have the option of leaving on the 12th of Dhul Hijjah as long as you leave Mina before sunset. So if you have medical conditions or you're finding it extremely difficult to stay in Mina, you could leave Mina on the 12th and then your Hajj is done. Your Hajj is pretty much done on the 12th of Dhul Hijjah, but the condition is that you are out of Mina before sunset. So you want to have stoned the 3 Jamarat after Zawal and have left Mina and gone back to your hotels before sunset, and this will be valid, and the rest will remain until the 13th of Dhul Hijjah. As a group, we tend to remain generally as a group till the 13th. If there are a large number of people wanting to leave on the 12th, then you could speak to the guides. If one guide or 2 of them, whatever number is suitable, depending on the group size, could leave with them. But generally at this stage, you'll probably be more independent, having staying and being in Azizia for a while. Also, if you leave on the 12th, it may be the case that you have to make food arrangements for yourself, and there will be no food provided. Why? Because generally people are encouraged to stay until the 13th, and this is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ as well. He stayed till the 13th. Let's watch this video. So going back to this picture here, you can see this sort of oval shape, and often you'll find congestion towards the front. So it's often easier if you go towards the back further down, and then you can come right up to the wall and pelt the wall from there. So you're going to raise your hand and say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and each time you pelt the Jamrah, you will say Allahu Akbar when you throw each stone. In summary, on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, we're going to enter the state of Ihram and go to Mina and spend the day and the night in Mina. On this day, we're going to pray our salawat there, and we're going to sleep. We're going to sleep there. On the 9th, when we wake up, we will go to Arafah and spend the day in Arafah. The time of dua starts after Zawal or after Dhuhr. We're going to combine Dhuhr and Asr, hear a khutbah, and then go out and make dua until sunset. Once the sun has set, we want to make a move towards Muzdalifah. And when we get to Muzdalifah, we're going to pray Maghrib and Isha combined. And after we prayed Maghrib and Isha combined, then it's recommended that you rest. You can pray your witr before you go to sleep, or you can wake up in the last portion of the night and pray some nafil, tahajjud, and witr. You can collect your stones in Muzdalifah, or you can collect them along the way. So if you're going to stay in Mina for the last 3 days, you want to collect 70 stones altogether. 70 stones altogether is what you need for all of the pelting on the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. Now, after spending the night in Muzdalifah, when you wake up on the 10th, you're going to pray Fajr there, and then you're going to do your dhikr in Muzdalifah until just before sunrise, and then return to Mina. Traditionally, the return to Mina has been not back to the tent. We've gone straight to the Jamrah just to keep the momentum going, and thrown 7 stones at the last Jamrah. Same thing, we raise our hands, we say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar with each stone that we throw at the Jamrah, and we complete all 7, and then we continue on until we go back to our hotel. Then we wait for notification of our slaughter. Once we receive notification of our slaughter, then we cut our hair or trim or shave, and then come out of Ihram and wear any type of tailored clothing that we find comfortable, and then go and do our tawaf and sa'i. And once you've done your tawaf and the sa'i, you've come out of the state of Ihram. Now, after you're cutting hair, you can put perfume on as well. And the Prophet ﷺ, Aisha radiallahu anha, mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ put perfume on before his Ihram, and also after he cut his hair and before he went to do tawaf and sa'i. And then you will do, after you do your tawaf and sa'i, you will return back to Mina to spend the nights back in Mina. It is important that you go back to Mina. And this answers one of the questions mentioned here. Can we go back to our hotels in the day of Mina? Now, in Arabic, it's called al-mabitu bil Mina, spending the nights in Mina. And it's one of the obligations of Hajj, according to most of the scholars. So you want to spend the nights in Mina. Again, for rare circumstances, medically you can't do it, then you should contact us, and then we can give you some advice on what to do to come out of this situation and the compensation that you'll need to pay. But generally, you're going to spend the nights in Mina. So after your tawaf and sa'i, you can stop off to get something to eat. So if you wanted to go to, say, a restaurant or a place to eat before you go back to Mina, there will be nothing wrong with that. Even if it means that you end up coming back late to Mina. What you don't want to be doing is doing frivolous stuff like buying and shopping like useless things or gifts. These are the things that you don't want to be doing, and it's not the time to do it. Likewise, you don't want to go back to your hotel and spend the night there. Okay, then you have violated an obligation of Hajj. You have violated an obligation of Hajj, and if you found yourself doing so, you want to seek advice from one of the guides on what you should do to make this up. So you want to go back to Mina, and you will spend the nights of Mina. During the day, in these 11th, 12th, and 13th, if you need to go back to the hotels, you can. So if you need to go back to the hotels, you can. And previously, people have, after doing the 3 Jamarat, they've gone back to Azizia, their hotel room, and they've had a shower, and they've stocked up their rucksacks, and then come back. So if you need to do this, you can do this. Know that being in Mina is the best thing that you can do. The Prophet ﷺ, he did not go back to Mecca to pray the salawat in the Haram, knowing the nobility of Mecca, but he stayed in Mina for those 3 days. So it's best that you spend those days, spend all of the moments of those days within Mina. Like Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ فِي أَيَّامٍ مَعْدُودَاتٍ. You just staying in Mina is dhikr, because you're giving up something. You're giving up that luxury, and you're going through an element of hardship, because there's going to be intense heat. It's not going to be easy this year, but that's part of the journey. Allah Azza wa Jal, he said in the Quran, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu layabluwannakum Allah bishay'in min as-sayd. Allah Azza wa Jal said to the companions, and Allah Azza wa Jal revealed in Surah Al-Ma'idah, "O you who believe, indeed Allah Azza wa Jal is going to test you in Ihram." And what was the test for the companions? The test was hunting. The companions, they said that an animal that we would normally hunt outside of the Ihram would all of a sudden appear in front of us that we could grab with our hands. I have the potential to hunt this animal with my hands. It became so easy to hunt an animal, but this was a test to test your Ihram, to test your commitment to Allah Azza wa Jal and your Islam to Him. So you are going to be tested, and you want to be patient and ask Allah Azza wa Jal to help you through that test. And one of the best du'as you can make is the dua that the Prophet recommended Mu'adh ibn Jabal to say after every salah. Allahumma a'inna ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. Oh Allah, help us to remember you. A'inna ala dhikrika wa shukrik. Help us to remember you and be grateful to you, and to do the most perfect forms of worship for you. And so I recommend that you stay in Mina as much as you can. And this is no doubt better for you. And likewise, you stay throughout all the way to the 13th, because Hajj has become more expensive and more difficult for us to do. And we don't know if we will get another opportunity like this to be there in this environment. Jade, after Hajj, Medina. So my understanding is that you are going to Medina after Hajj. So after Hajj, you'll go back to Mecca for a while, and then you will go to Medina. Before you leave for Medina, you want to do your Tawaf al-Wada. You want to do your Tawaf al-Wada, which is your farewell Tawaf. After this Tawaf, there is no Sa'i. So you're just going to do 7 circuits and pray 2 rak'ah, and this is your last moments before you leave Mecca. And it can be done a few hours or even half a day before you leave Mecca. Once you get to Medina, there are some recommended acts of worship to do in Medina. One is sending salam upon the Prophet ﷺ. And there again, there is some crowd control. There's a process of doing this, and you can follow that process of going through the one-way system, where you go through and send salam upon the Prophet ﷺ, and you send salam upon his 2 companions, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar radiyallahu anhuma. And there are selected times for sisters to go. Often this has been a period at night time, and then there's a time usually in the morning as well, after Shuruq. The area gets sectioned off for sisters to go, and those times will be announced when sisters can go to send their salam upon the Prophet ﷺ and his two companions. It's also recommended. Yes.
For the going to Rauda and praying in Rauda, do we need to book our own time, or is it done with the group?
Yes, this has been the norm. The norm has been that you've got to book on the app. Previously, they have been a bit relaxed about checking your bookings on the app. So if you can book on the app, that's great. I would recommend booking on the app. If you can't book on the app, you could still try and go through, and they may let you through. Especially if there's sometimes on some of the apps there was no space to book. Now it's recommended that you pray all 5 salahs at the masjid, because the salah in that masjid has a greater value 1,000 times than a salah anywhere else, including the janazah salahs as well. If you get a chance, an opportunity to pray in the Rawda, you want to pray in the Rawda as well. And you want to visit the graveyard, where a number of companions and great scholars have been buried. And this is obviously for men. They won't allow women in. They take the opinion, which is the opinion of most scholars, that women should not visit the graveyards. And so for men, you can visit the graveyard, and actually it's a very heart-softening thing that you can do, is to take part in a janazah. So if you want to take part in a janazah, you want to pray on the eastern side of the masjid, and the brothers will show you what side that is, on the eastern wing of the masjid, closer to the graveyard. And then you pray your salah there, like for example an Asr salah, and then straight after the Asr salah, once you've prayed the janazah, you leave the masjid and you go towards the graveyard, and you can actually take part in a burial. And also, if there's any lectures, we recommend that you attend, and also tours as well, the ziyarat, going to see Mount Uhud, going to Quba. You want to go to Masjid Quba with al-wudu, so you get the reward of another umrah. The Prophet said, whoever comes to Masjid Quba in a state of wudu, then